The request is to defer one meeting. This was approved by the Planning Commission on January the 10th, but for the purposes of our consent, we are considering a one-meeting deferral at the request of the sponsor. RS 2013-569, sponsor is Johnson, a resolution authorizing property to be used as public park land. There's no Planning Commission action on that. Our action is the only one required. 2013-291, sponsor is Stanley. This is an item that we will come back to discuss. Was disapproved by the Commission. 2012-292, sponsor is Berry and Stein, an ordinance amending the zoning regulations pertaining to the recording studios as a home occupation accessory use in residential districts. This was approved by the Planning Commission, 7-4, 1 abstention, and the sponsor is requesting a deferral of is that a deferral until the first meeting in April. BL 2013-342, sponsor is Gilmore, an ordinance approving a license agreement with the State of Tennessee and the Board of Parks and Recreation in the construction and maintenance of the Richland Creek Greenway. Administrative approval given on December the 6th. BL 2013-343, sponsor is Gilmore and Potts, an ordinance authorizing Omni National LLC to install, construct, and maintain underground and aerial encroachments in the right-of-way of 4th Avenue South, Korean War Veterans Boulevard, and 5th Avenue South. Administrative approval on 11/16. BL 2013-345, sponsor is Holloman, an ordinance to amend the official street and alley acceptance and maintenance map by abandoning a portion of Wyoming Avenue right-of-way. Administrative approval on 12/5. Substitute Bill BL 2013-346, sponsor Gilmore, an ordinance to amend the official street and alley acceptance and maintenance map by abandoning a portion of alley number 207 and alley number 209, along with certain utility and drainage easements. And administrative approval was given originally for the bill on 10/31 and on the substituted bill on 12/18. BL 2013-347, sponsor Gilmore and Potts, an ordinance to amend the official street and alley acceptance and maintenance map by abandoning a portion of Clark Street, 7th Avenue South, 6th Avenue South, Shirley Street, alley number 114, alley number 337, and alley number 145, administratively approved on 10/31. BL 2012-264, sponsor is Stites, an ordinance amending the zoning regulations pertaining to the legislative alteration of the zoning code standards when amending a planned unit development approved under the authority of a previous zoning code. This was approved with amendments by the Commission 8-0 on 10/25. BL 2012-326, sponsor is Moore, an ordinance to amend the zoning ordinance by changing from R6 to SP zoning for property located at 515 Southgate Avenue to permit up to 6 residential units. Approved with conditions by the Commission on 11/8. BL 2012-327, sponsor is Westerholm, an ordinance to amend the zoning ordinance by making applicable the provisions of the neighborhood landmark overlay on property located at 608 Shelby Avenue, zoned R8. This was approved on 12/13 by the Commission. On BL 2012-328, sponsor is Langster, an ordinance to amend the zoning ordinance changing from RM20 to RM40A zoning for properties located at 1808, 1809, 1810 Marina Street, and 925 and 929 Dr. D.B. Todd Jr. Boulevard, approved by the Commission on 11/8. BL 2012-329, sponsor is Stanley. An ordinance to amend the zoning ordinance by changing from RS10 to SP property located at 3778 Central Pike to permit an assisted care living facility for up to 21 single-family lots. Approved with conditions by the Commission on 11/8. BL 2012-330, sponsor is Moore. An ordinance to amend the zoning ordinance by changing from OR20 to OR40, zoning for property located at 1624 16th Avenue South, located within the South Music Row Neighborhood Conservation Overlay. And this was approved by the Commission on 11/8. And finally, BL 2012-331, sponsor is Tenpenny. An ordinance to amend the zoning ordinance by amending the Nolensville Road Automart SP District for properties located at 2721 and 2725 Nolensville Pike and at 2722 Grandview Avenue to allow one 20-foot tall pole mounted on-premise sign and to allow for the existing monument sign and building sign to remain. And this was approved with conditions on November the 8th by a vote of 6 for, 1 against, and 1 abstention. Those are the items that are on our consent agenda. Are there any of those that you would desire to pull? If not, do I have a motion to, Council Lady, where are you? Moore. Okay.
I wanted to pull BL 2012-326. I have some questions to the Planning Department.
All right. Any others? Do I have a motion to approve our consent agenda? Motion to approve and seconded. Those in favor? Any opposed? Consent agenda passes. All right. BL 2012-291, sponsor is Stanley. An ordinance amending the definition of a recycling facility to clarify that it does not include the conversion of material into a fuel product or asphalt and to prohibit such activity on construction, demolition, landfill property. This was disapproved by the Planning Commission on 11/8 by a vote of 5 to disapprove, 3 in favor of approval. Do I have a motion? For discussion purposes, a second. All right, discussion. Would this sponsor, would you care to speak?
I would just request the council's support of this bill on second reading tonight and also tomorrow night. I have been informed that the state government is getting ready to amend their regulations concerning construction, demolition, landfills, or considering incineration operations in throughout Tennessee. But I think it's important that everyone understand that Davidson County is the most densely populated and densely developed county in Tennessee. And it has over 1,243 people per square mile. This C&D landfill right now, I've been informed, is wanting to operate an incineration process. And of course, there is byproducts that are generated from this incineration process. And it's always been my consideration that a landfill is just that. It's where you take waste and you leave it there. It's not going to be considered, it should not be considered recycling unless it's tested in a more sparsely developed and sparsely populated area of Davidson County or other areas of Tennessee. So I'm more than willing to amend this on third reading. I've spoken with Mr. Cooper, or I've had an email from Mr. Cooper. He said that these regulations are getting ready to come forward. I'm aware that these regulations are going to come forward as well. But I think it's important that everyone understand that this waste transfer facility, in the months that I've researched this issue, I found that this waste transfer is incineration facility. It will generate carbon monoxide, sulfur oxide, and also nitrogen oxide into the atmosphere. And that can have adverse impacts on the populace and the environment in which it's generated. I just feel like our community does not need to have this at this time. And what's more, I think it's important that we understand that right across the river, it's a Stones River, it's on the Stones River, right across the river from this site is a $10 million Stones River Greenway. And right next to it is the 308,000 square foot Jackson Downs Retail Center. And then right behind that retail center is the River's Edge single family subdivision that has been adversely impacted by this C&D landfill over the years. So I think it's important that we put our foot down. We make everyone understand, even the state officials understand, that this is an urban county. It is not a suburban, it is not a rural, semi-rural county. It is an urban county. Its development and its population density requires that this type of action be taken by the Metropolitan Council so that we can have some input into what is allowed in our community. So with that, I would take any questions, or I would just ask for approval on second reading.
Okay, I would ask a question of the planning staff. Under current laws and regulations, are incineration processes allowable on C&D landfills?
Under our current ordinances, the activity described in this bill is classified as a heavy manufacturing use. A heavy manufacturing use is only permittable in Davidson County in an IG district, in the most intense industrial district we have. And so if a C&D landfill is not zoned IG, this activity would not be permitted as part of that C&D landfill.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions, discussion? Councilman Glover.
I've been trying to understand this completely. Is there anyone from Public Works who is here that can talk to us about this as well? One of the things that I'm most concerned with is perhaps unintended consequences of this bill. I think we keep talking about what this is. I'm not sure we understand what this is. I spent time today at this particular facility looking at what it is. I understand that a planning administrator is about to go and look at one of these facilities somewhere in the country to understand this particular recycling event. But Public Works, what is your major concern with this particular piece of legislation, please?
Yeah, and I'm Sharon Smith with Public Works, and our major concern is exactly as you said, Councilman, is the unintended consequences, because when you pass a piece of legislation like this that says that converting waste into another product, such as converting food potentially into a fuel product, or converting wood waste into a fuel product cannot be done, then what you do is take away one of the options that we have in the Public Works tool belt for managing waste going forward. Right now, a huge portion of our waste is landfilled. It goes directly in the ground, and that's where it sits. And we have talked to companies from various different countries, including some in Europe, that are moving towards conversion technologies, where you take waste, you take organic waste, you take different types of waste, and you convert it into energy. And our concern is that this could impact Nashville being on the cutting edge of progressive waste reduction going forward. The state has mandated all counties reduce their waste 25%. And so part of what we have to do is look for ways that we can not landfill waste, but that we can find ways to recycle and to reduce as much as possible. So that's our main concern. And I'd like to say one more thing, which is there are a lot of, just like the planning department said, there are already mechanisms in place to make sure any type of facility that manages waste goes through the appropriate process. You know, ultimately reaching the state of Tennessee, the Department of Environment and Conservation, that has the ultimate authority to approve or reject. But there is air quality issues are addressed by the health department. There are zoning issues that are addressed by codes and planning, and ultimately, you know, the state. So we do feel like there are already a number of processes in place to make sure that an inappropriate facility does not go into a community where it shouldn't be.
I want to step back 1 second. You said every county in the state
Yes, sir.
is required to reduce by 25%. Explain that, because I think that impairs our possibility of moving our waste to other counties outside of Davidson, and I think it almost forces us to deal with this and look at it responsibly. Would
No,
that be?
it's based on what the county generates. So it's not based on where it goes. We are
Okay.
just supposed to look at what we generate and reduce that, recycle it, try and find other ways to handle it.
Okay.
You know, such as, the brush program, where instead of putting it in a trash cart, you set it out, we pick it up, it gets recycled.
Okay, thank you for
Yeah.
clarification.
Councilor Bennett?
Thank you, Chairman Claiborne. For clarification, would this also affect someone who processes, say, used cooking oil and makes it into a biodiesel product?
I think the answer is no. I think the text amendment's pretty targeted at what it's trying to limit the conversion of. Certainly the second part of the bill, the language is pretty specific: debris, biomass, other materials. Well, there's other materials.
Okay, thank you.
So possibly.
Councilman Davis?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I'd like to commend my honorable colleague, Bruce Stanley, on his homework. However, though, I cannot support this tonight. I'm going to ask to be filed as an abstention. I encourage the sponsor to please work out an amicable solution with our Public Works Department. I admire the effort, and because I too wanted to reduce our carbon footprint as a county ourselves, but it needs to be in conjunction and with the blessing of our great Public Works Department. That's how I feel, and I've expressed this to the sponsor, and I'll be talking to him afterwards. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Councilman Bedney?
Thank you, Chairman. My concern, I think it's important that we look at the issue of recycling. Obviously, it's lowering our carbon footprint and finding a way to get rid of all the trash that we make every day. It's paramount. But I am concerned about the fact that we tend to locate these facilities close to low-income families. And sometimes the people that do that, it's us by rezoning a property that it wasn't zoned for that. So I know this is not exactly what we're talking about here, but I'm curious to what Councilman Stanley is trying to do, and I would like to learn more about it in find ways to minimize the impact of places that create toxic, which is not the case on this necessarily, but places that create toxic environment for families that are already dealing with allergies and all kinds of toxic fumes. So I want to commend Councilman Stanley for that, and for us to be careful about where do we put these facilities. Thanks.
Councilman Todd?
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate what Councilman Stanley is doing here, and I'm going to support him tonight and move this on to third. But I just want to let you know, I think to get this passed on third, I'd like you to be able to work this out with Public Works and hear that everybody is kind of in agreement. But I appreciate what you're doing and want to support you here on this. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Councilman Stanley?
I just have one other comment to make, and that is that I'm willing to work with Department of Public Works and with the mayoral administration. I think it's important that everyone understand that cooperation is key to having a successful city. But I think when you have a stormwater management plan, not a stormwater management, solid waste management plan that's in direct contrast to the Metro Zoning Code, you have two government documents that are in conflict. And I think it's important that we have a Public Works Department, a Planning Department, and a Metro Council that's willing to remove this conflict altogether, eliminate this. I will let you know that this C&D landfill is on about 73 acres of floodplain property. All of it is floodplain property on the Stones River. And I'm in my last term on the Metro Council. I've got 2.5 years left on the Metro Council. But after I'm gone, don't be surprised if the next councilman steps up and tries to subdivide a portion of this 73 acres and then rezone it IG to allow an incineration facility on this site. I think it's important that we understand what can and cannot happen, what long-range plans are affected by this legislation. This legislation can be a benefit for the entire city. So I just ask your approval at this time.
Seeing no other lights in the queue for questions, do I have a motion? Okay, so the motion's made and seconded to approve. So those in favor, raise your hands so I can see. 1, 2, 3. All right. Those opposed? 1, 2, 3. Those abstaining? 1. Okay. 3 for, 3 against, and 1 abstention. Is that? Did you check? 3, 3, and 1. Okay. All right. BL 2012-309, sponsor is Jernigan. An ordinance to amend the zoning ordinance by changing from MUL to SP zoning for property located at 100 Iris Avenue to permit all uses of the MUL zoning district and new and used tire sales. And this was disapproved by the Planning Commission by a vote of 7-0 on 11-8. We had this on our previous agenda and deferred until today. I had sent the members of the committee information related to the action of the Planning Commission, in addition to some of the, or a portion of the notes from the minutes of that meeting. So do I have a motion? All right, motion to approve. Do I have a second? Motion made and seconded. Councilman Jernigan.
Thank you, Councilman. This is my second deferral. I attempted to, thank you for sending out the minutes. I appreciate that to the committee. I attempted to email you with the questions that you'd asked. I also have a late amendment filed specifically for to take the used tires out. I don't know how that got in there, so I do apologize for that. So that amendment is in there. So I'm here tonight to answer any questions and hopefully can move this forward. Thank you.
Do we have any questions from the committee? Councilman Glover.
Councilman Jernigan, I read your information, but based upon what Lakewood's ruling was, and realizing this is in body, what was your interpretation of what was allowed on this piece of property prior to Metro taking this over?
Prior to Metro taking it over, I believe it was a consignment shop. The owner, had a consignment shop. However, he could have went down to the Lakewood Planning Commission and got a tire shop if he wanted to.
That was my question.
That's
What was allowed there, I guess?
Yeah,
Let me rephrase
it.
it. What would be restricted on that piece of property?
That would have been, I guess, that's hard to say because that would have been up to the Lakewood Planning Commission at that time.
Okay.
I mean, just like we're here today, they could have said yes or no.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Are there other questions? Councilman Pridemore.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. In reviewing that area out there, that business is conducive to that, within a 2 or 3 block area, is it not? I mean, isn't most of those little shops, car dealerships and consignment shops and fruit stand and that type of thing all the way up and down or State Route 45?
Right, that's Old Hickory Boulevard, and it doesn't deviate drastically by any means of what's there now. So that's why, I did, again, put quite a few restrictions on this, and so far, every time I drive by, it's been very clean and nice, and that's why I think it's going to be very successful with the restrictions we have on the SP. Thank you.
So for clarity's sake, the amendment that you're offering removes used tires, but it doesn't change the number of tires that are allowed there, right?
Correct. If you look on your amendments that are on your desk in the very, very back, on the end of it, the previous one, there was an interpretation where it could be used or new, and that was not my intent. It would be only new, 6 tires, stacks of 4, rows, and no other storage outside.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? Are we ready to vote? The motion has been made and seconded. Those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. We have one other item. Bill 2013-334, sponsor is Harrison, an ordinance to amend the official street and alley and acceptance maintenance map by changing the name and the entire length of A-Line Avenue from Weekly Avenue to John L. Copeland Boulevard. And Councilman Harrison is not with us, and I do not have a letter. Oh, there you are. You slipped in on me. Okay. All right, so this was approved by the commission it was administratively approved on 12/5. So do I have a motion? A second? Motion made and seconded. Those in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. And let me just make sure here now. Okay, that part 326. Oh, yes, I'm sorry, we pulled 326. Council Lady Moore, BL 2012-326, amending the zoning ordinance by changing from R6 to SP zoning for property located at 515 Southgate Avenue to permit up to 6 residential units. Council Lady Moore.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to ask the Planning Department, just for the viewing audience, these questions were submitted to me, and we're supposed to be having a meeting at the end of this month with the applicant, but I want to ask these questions, and I'm going to submit them to you as well. Why was this SP zoning requested of 506? Yeah. 515, I'm sorry, Southgate.
It's my understanding that this was requested in order to place the units on the site more efficiently. Under the current zoning, they would be allowed to subdivide into 3 lots for where each lot could have a duplex on it, which would allow for a total of 6 units. Under this proposal, they're asking for 6 residential units also, but it allows for the setbacks and different placement of the units in a more efficient manner to allow for more open space on the property, is my understanding.
Is that one of the conditions?
Well, there's a site plan that has the layout of the plan that will do that. So yes, it is a requirement of the SP.
Okay. Will there be sidewalks? I'm thinking of Cavell. Cavell is a small street. And so will there be any on-street parking on Cavell?
They are providing on-site parking for all of the units. So
Okay.
the required parking will be met on-site.
Okay.
And the sidewalks, this isn't an area that would require sidewalks. We'd have to look at that a little bit more closely to see if they would qualify for a contribution in this area. If there's no existing sidewalks in the area, they might be able to make a sidewalk contribution so that sidewalks would be built somewhere in that pedestrian benefit zone.
Okay, could you all look at that for me, please? Like I said, I'm going to submit these questions to you. Is the alley going to be considered as a primary point of access for this development?
Well, I mean, there is, as far as I can tell, there's no existing alley on here. They will have driveways that provide access to the rear of the units. On the units that are accessed from Carvel Avenue will have driveways that go to the rear of the units, but there's no existing alley. Carvel Avenue is pretty narrow, but it's not technically an alley.
Okay. The other questions that they had on here, I know that this, I'm going to have to, probably, I'm going to give you this so that you can maybe, have Mr. Dale to contact me, or I may have to call him myself because, he did send me something as to what the homes would look like, but still, these questions I cannot ask. I know parking was one of it. Will the houses fit into the character of the neighborhood? That was a question. He did send me some pictures of what it would look like. But this is going to be on third reading tomorrow, so I need to have some answers.
If you give me those questions, I can follow up on those and send you an email tomorrow morning.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
So as the sponsor of the bill, are you good for us to go ahead and
I'm good.
Okay. So I need a motion to approve then. All right, motion and seconded. Those in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. And we're adjourned. Thank you.